Ever since Russia launched its full-scale invasion in 2022, Ukraine was desperately pleading with the world for tanks, missiles, air defense systems, and ammunition. Every few weeks, President Zelensky was on another international tour, asking allies, especially EU, for funds to keep the country in the fight, but in vain. 4 years later, the conversation has changed dramatically. For Ukraine, survival truly has become the mother of invention. Ukraine, suffering for months from manpower crisis and uncertain backing from the United States, has undergone a remarkable evolution. It is no longer just a recipient of weapons, it's becoming a supplier of military know-how. The country has transformed itself into one of the world's most experienced innovators in modern warfare, pioneering everything from AI-enabled targeting to long-range strike drones and electronic warfare. But how did they reach here? Now, instead of relying solely on heavy state factories, Kyiv invited thousands of private software engineers, garage tinkerers, and tech startups to build military hardware. A key element in Ukraine's drone strategy is the Brave One initiative, which is a government-led defense tech cluster established in spring 2023 to streamline cooperation between the public and private sectors. Now, this cluster has helped numerous companies cut through red tape, speeding up the implementation of new technologies to support Ukraine's defense. Ukraine started increasingly deploying drones, robotic vehicles, and unmanned weapon systems. Now, Ukraine just carried out first-of-its-kind operation using only drones and robots. The operators remotely guided an unmanned drone boat across the Black Sea, carrying a machine gun-equipped ground robot. They landed the robot on the occupied Kyiv coast and sent it behind Russian lines. Ukraine is now relying on thousands of such unmanned ground vehicles to carry out acts that once required soldiers to risk their lives. Unlike flying drones, which are largely designed by software experts, many of these machines were created by mechanics and frontline soldiers who understood exactly what was needed in combat. Now, during the war, Ukraine's defense sector expanded to an estimated annual production capacity of $35 billion to $55 billion. Over the course of the war, Ukraine went from pleading for foreign military support to providing its cutting-edge and battle-tested weapons know-how to Europe, the United States, and Middle East countries. President of the European Commission Ursula met with Ukraine's President Zelensky in Kyiv and announced an additional €10 billion package from the EU to Ukraine for more drones, for missiles, and fighter aircraft. Speaking at a joint press conference with Zelensky, Ursula said the package will follow the already disbursed $4 billion, which she called the largest drone support package globally. Few months back, Zelensky said the country now produces more than 50% of the weapons it uses on the front line. Almost its entire inventory of long-range weapons is domestically made. Now, by 2025, Ukraine's domestic manufacturing capacity outstripped its own state's budget's ability to buy everything being built. Ukraine defense companies had the capacity to produce roughly $55 billion worth of weapons annually, but the government could only afford to procure a portion of it. Now, Ukraine's allies have expressed interest in learning from its wartime experiences and technological innovation to bolster its own forces, many of them weakened by decades of low defense spending. So rather than letting factories sit idle, Kyiv lifted export bans for trusted partner nations. At the start of the war, Ukraine mostly relied on its old Soviet-era arsenal. Western military support helped modernize the country's armed forces, but it now leads much of the world in developing unmanned systems like robots and drones.